everyone, I'm Bita Delisi, and in this video we're going to talk about one of the most common questions that I get asked during my online trainings with realtors, and that is, what is the difference between an N11 and an N12? Let's talk about the N11. The N11 is an agreement to end the tenancy, kind of like a mutual agreement. When the parties are agreeing upon termination of tenancy, they're agreeing to give up their rights in accordance to their lease agreement. That termination date can really be any date that the parties have agreed to. Even if there's a lease in place, if an N11 is agreed to be signed by the parties, it can be signed. There's no stipulations because it's a mutual agreement to end the tenancy, a meeting of the minds to end the tenancy. Whereas the N12 is a notice. And the N12 is a 60-day notice to end the tenancy for the landlord or new purchaser's own use. This notice is usually provided from the landlord to the tenant, notifying the tenant that the landlord requires to end the tenancy because they would like possession of the property, or they have sold the property and the new purchaser requires possession of the property. The N12, unlike the N11, has certain requirements and consequences. One of the requirements is that compensation equivalent to 1 month's rent must be paid to the tenant before the termination date in that notice. Another requirement is that a declaration must be signed from the person who's going to be moving in, declaring that they require possession in good faith for at least 1 year. Another requirement is that the landlord must now disclose of any previous N12 notices served to this tenant or any former tenants going back 2 years. The N12 also has very strong cost consequences, unlike the N11. One of the cost consequences are that if the landlord does not move in after serving an N12, and if the tenant relies on that N12 in order to make a move, that tenant has recourse. And that recourse is that they can bring forward a T5 bad faith application against any former landlord for up to 12 months from the date that they moved out. We talked about the difference between a mutual agreement and the N12 notice. Again, going back to the N11 is an agreement to vacate. That means if the tenant changes their mind for whatever reason, the landlord can file that N11 with the Landlord and Tenant Board for an eviction order. I call the N11 the golden ticket. We hope you find this video informative, and now you know the difference between an N11 and an N12. If you have any questions, call us first.